As three drivers vie for the 2025 Red Bull seat alongside Max Verstappen, Helmut Marko has warned Daniel Ricciardo that he has to come up with something soon after back-to-back disappointing races. Out-qualified by Yuki Tsunoda 2 races in a row, the Japanese driver extended his qualifying margin over his teammate to half a second in Saudi Arabia and went on to put his car inside the top 10. Between a lengthy pit stop for the Aussie and a 5-second penalty for Tsunoda for an unsafe release, neither RB driver scored a single point in what's proving to be a disappointing start to the season for the much-hyped junior team. But in the midst of the high expectations that RB would be challenging in Formula One's midfield, Max Verstappen even predicting they could achieve a podium result this season, is the internal battle to replace Sergio Perez at Red Bull Racing next season. So far, it's Perez who is winning that. With back-to-back runner-up results, the Mexican driver is doing exactly what Red Bull want, and that's picking up the points behind the race-winning Verstappen. However, further back at RB, it seems Tsunoda's the one who is currently next in line with Marko, at least impressed with his performances in qualifying. The Austrian, though, is looking for improvement from RB as a whole, as the team has struggled for pace in the Grand Prix, with Tsunoda dropping from 9th to 14th in Saudi Arabia. Marko said that there's a lot at stake this season for both Yuki and Daniel, and that Yuki's qualifying performance was very good, and Ricciardo has to come up with something soon. The Austrian, though, is looking for improvement from RB as a whole, as the team has struggled for pace in the Grand Prix, with Tsunoda dropping from 9th to 14th in Saudi Arabia. Marko added that at least Tsunoda is very good in qualifying. Then they are at the top of the World Championship points in the first stint, only to fall further and further behind afterwards. They cannot maintain the speed in the long term. Whether they are putting too much strain on the tires or there are other reasons is what they need to find out. Although for Liam Lawson, racing for Red Bull would be a childhood dream come true, at the end of the day, he just wants to race in F1. Last season, Lawson was Formula One super sub as the Kiwi stepped in to replace the injured Daniel Ricciardo, the latter already a replacement driver for the ousted Nick de Vries at Red Bull's junior team. With Liam Lawson waiting in the wings at Red Bull, there's even more at stake ahead of the 2025 season, as should Red Bull opt to continue with Perez, who is doing a great job so far this season, then either Tsunoda or Ricciardo could find themselves out of a job if the team promotes reserve driver Lawson. Lawson spent 5 races with the team and scored points at the Singapore Grand Prix when he brought his car home in 9th place. He achieved that feat despite being told 24 hours earlier that he would not be driving for the team in 2024 as they'd opted to retain Ricciardo alongside Yuki Tsunoda. But returning to a reserve driver role for this year's championship, a position he's filling at both Red Bull and RB, Lawson is keen to find a spot on the 2025 F1 grid.